Hello and welcome to episode 17 of E-Commerce Joe. In today's episode, I'm joined by Stefano Pudu, who is the managing director even, and founder of EcomPartner, which is a growth agency that specialises in helping brands launch and expand into the EU. So if you're a UK business or a US business looking to expand into the EU, Stefano is your guy. I had a great chat with Stefano and I hope you enjoy it too. If you like the episode, please don't forget to leave a like and click subscribe to stay updated. So Stefano is today's guest, and Stefano is the founder and managing director of EcomPartner. Stefano, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joe, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
The pleasure's mine. We were speaking ahead of the call about where you are at the moment because you're Italian, your company's based in Spain. Where are you in the world?
So yes, I'm between Spain and Barcelona in Spain and Budapest. But yeah, I spent the last 10 years in beautiful Barcelona, sunny city. Although sometimes in summer I either visit my family or spend some time in Budapest in Hungary.
Oh, amazing. And then we spoke before about the structure of this show. So at the beginning, we're going to find out about EcomPartner, what it is you guys do, who you work with. And then we're going to speak about a little bit about your e-commerce journey because I think it's quite an interesting one. So EcomPartner, your kind of mission is to help brands launch their products and grow their revenues on Amazon Europe. Is that a fair description? Like what is it that you guys actually do?
So we are Amazon experts, Amazon Europe experts. We take care of taking brands by their hands and helping them launch in Europe. Of course, as you may know, there are many marketplaces where Amazon is in Europe. That means that there is another level of complexity. And what we do is simple, Joe. First, we help the brands decide if it makes sense or not to sell on Amazon, because sometimes they already have a Shopify and they're doing well and they don't need it. So we are very honest with that. Then we help them decide which products to sell of their catalog. Some brands have thousands of products and they don't really need to launch them all at first. And then we help them decide which countries to launch first, right? So once we have the initial strategy set up, then it's a matter of launching the products, launching the first PPC campaigns, getting those reviews, getting that Amazon flywheel emotion, and making the most of the so-called honeymoon period on Amazon, where in the first month, Amazon gives you extra ranking juice if you're able to sell. And at the end of the day, what we do is full account management with, of course, focus on PPC campaigns. Those are the keys to be able to really be successful on Amazon. But as you may know, if your listing are not optimized, if the content is not good, if you don't have an Amazon store, if you don't have A+ content, it's difficult in some categories. So we also help with that. We also help with content optimization, creation. So it's, as I said, a full account service and also consulting, in a sense that we also work with brands that are already established and helping them optimize what they're doing, improve their metrics, launch new products, improve maybe the conversion rate. Yeah.
It sounds like you guys must get very busy. How big is your team?
So we are 5 in the team.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes, it's not a big team, but we are growing, getting new clients, expanding our partners, reaching out to US brands. Now most of our partners are European brands, but as I said, we are on a growing trajectory.
And of those 5 team members, do each of you specialize in a different area? Like one's PPC and one's, I don't know, like listing optimization, or is it?
So we have the structure is we have some expert account managers that take care of managing the accounts, guys with 7 years experience working for agencies, aggregators. So great experience in that. The goal is to keep the management kind of flat if possible, in the sense that everybody's entitled to make decisions. Of course, there's a hierarchy. So we, as I said, we have account managers, that mostly deal with PPC. Then we have the content, right? And then some marketing and partnerships that we have to take care of if we want to grow the company.
And so for the content, like, would that be outsourced to another approved provider? Because like from the size of your company, I actually thought your team would be way bigger. I'm really impressed. But I couldn't imagine someone being like an expert in PPC, an expert in listing optimization, an expert in content. Like how do they manage to juggle so much?
Well, as I said, I mean, if you're able to do PPC campaigns, then they're also able to optimize the listing. Although for bigger projects, we do have some partners that help in translating a lot of listings, in creating a lot of content, in creating stores. So our focus is not really that, right? We can create a store, but our focus is account management. To answer your questions, at scale, we have partners that we kind of work with. So our focus is account management, not content creation, although we are aware of what it takes to have a listing optimized and all that.
Yeah. Oh, cool. And you said at the beginning that when you first speak with one of your clients, or when someone's introduced you, you look at what it might or might not make sense to sell on Amazon. What are some sort of red flags, I suppose, or sort of products that you wouldn't sell on Amazon, and then those that you would?
That's a good question. Look, jewelry, for example, it's tricky. It can work, but more expensive jewelry, then it's harder to those are harder to sell. Then you have very expensive products. Let's say cars. You're not gonna sell cars on Amazon, right?
Maybe one day in the future.
And I would say anything above, I would say 1,000. I mean, we worked with a client that was selling fitness products. So was selling treadmills and strength machines for 2,000 euros. And it was selling pretty well, even though his store was performing better. So to be honest, anything above 1,500 euros, maybe you have double to reconsider. For example, furniture, like this sofa, this couch, the back, that's so harder to sell on.
So you're saying larger items you wouldn't recommend that people sell on there?
In general, that's what we see. And then of course you have like marketplaces that are, for example, there's Zalando for shoes and for fashion, right? I mean, there are many fashion marketplaces where if you really have a fashionable product, and maybe you make more sales there. That doesn't mean that you cannot try on Amazon. But still, there are some in Europe. There are many like smaller marketplaces, and depending on which category you're in, then we can suggest where to go and where to sell your products. Of course, we don't do that because, as I said, we just focus on Amazon. But we are able to tell you and to suggest you which marketplace to try.
And is that because people don't say go on Amazon to buy a car, or they don't go on there to buy a sofa? Is that the reason, or is it more that the cost like of FBA is so high that you wouldn't advise it?
Well, I mean, for bigger products, usually merchants use FBM, so it's not really a cost issue. It's more that people see Amazon as a place where you buy more, like less expensive products, right? That's the idea that people have in their mind. So if you want to buy furniture, then also maybe you want to like go to a showroom. I mean, it's a different kind of purchase. I would say that I can tell you the categories where we see the great results, and those are kitchen. First of all kind of kitchenwares and kitchen products, they sell very, very well. That's an evergreen. Then we have garden, then we have beauty, cosmetic, supplement as well, although it's very competitive. Apparel, so as I said, is not apparel, is definitely not the best category on Amazon. And then we have bathroom, that it's a very good category as well. Then we have baby, then we have pets. Pets depend on the countries, because let's say in Spain, there are a bunch of big marketplaces just for pets products, right?
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So that's why, as I said before, it really helps if you have somebody that can suggest, that can know the markets, right? Know the local marketplaces, because that's another service that we offer, since we know the other marketplaces, so we're able to tell which level of competition you have in different countries in Europe.
And so you said you only specialize in Amazon Europe.
We just do Amazon Europe, exactly.
Why is that? Like, what made you come to that decision? Because have you tried any other marketplaces and helping people there, or what's the thought process?
I have, of course. I've done that. I'm in the US, in Canada, with clients that we already had a long-term relationship. And at that point,
but I presume, I presume was that you tried Amazon in those countries, right?
Just Amazon, yes.
Have you tried, I don't know what the pet supplier platform is in Spain, for example, but like, if you had a client come into you that sold pet toys and wanted to get them in Spain, have you considered that, or what's the reason for only focusing on Amazon EU?
I mean, as I said, our focus and our goal is to be the experts on Amazon. So it's already pretty complex. So what we do is have an understanding of other marketplaces. I know, and we know that in some it's easier to sell, in others it's harder, but still we have partners that do that job, right? So usually we can suggest to work with them, but still, as I said, for some marketplaces, it's just a matter of listing your products, although we don't do it.
Yeah. No, I just wondered because I think focus is like a really important kind of thing in business, because some people get what's known as like shiny object syndrome. They get all these ideas and they run that way, then they run this way.
Yeah.
But sometimes, especially working with clients, you need to make sure that you're like you said, you're an expert in one area, because then people will pay, for your knowledge and advice. And I wondered if it was a conscious decision or something that had happened by like trial and error. But yeah, that's very interesting. So what was your story? Because I imagine, or I know you didn't just kind of stumble onto this by chance. Like what did you do before EcomPartner, or before you started EcomPartner?
So actually, my journey on Amazon started as a seller in 2016. That's how I started my e-commerce/Amazon journey. And I was selling pet supplies, pet accessories. My first product was actually a dog running leash, since at that time I had a dog and I like to run. So I was looking for a solution for that, not to hold my leash on the hand, right? So I was selling a special belt with a leash attached to the belt, and you can find them now on Amazon. There are many models. So that's how I started, and I went through all the process of finding a supplier, devising and changing my product, make it cool. I mean, I thought I had the best hand-free dog leash, and probably it was. All the calculations, the material, I changed it a bit, and I made the leash longer and stronger, the belt as well, all that part, and also importing, right? So it was a great gym, right? To understand all the different phases, what it takes, the risks, the costs. Okay, I'm paying this much, I'm selling for 6x, but then I have all these costs, right? And then there's VAT to pay, right? And then that's when I realized that I needed capital to grow. And that's when I started consulting, since at that time I didn't have a lot of capital and capital wasn't available to me. Now it's easier for new sellers, still, you have to perform and you have to sell, but there are more ways to get capital, either revenues, financing. There's some companies that actually keep the inventory for you, and they ship it out and they take the money back only once the inventory is sold. So there are ways to do that nowadays, better than when I started.
Yeah, it's amazing how much the landscape has changed, isn't it? I mean, it's 2016 now looking at it is quite a while ago, wasn't it?
Yes.
And interestingly, I started in 2012 and stopped properly in about 2016. And so, I feel like a bit of a dinosaur now when you say that, because I was thinking, wow, 2016 is a while. Is the dog leash running product still going? Do you still?
Not really. I launched a bunch of more products, but then, as I said, and I focus more on the consulting part. on the agency, working with clients. So I kind of left the brand apart. And yes, please.
Sorry, did you sell it or did you just kind of let it run into the ground?
Well, actually, I sold like the ASIN.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of exited.
And what was that process like?
Well, it's usually a multiple of, as I said, nowadays it's like, okay, now valuations are going down, but at that time it was harder to find a buyer. And at the end of the day, I sold it through my network, because I had a meetup. Cool. I had a meetup, so I could like have the right connections with people that wanted to invest and people that wanted to start their own Amazon store, right?
Yeah,
so that made it easier. Although I feel like the best time to sell your Amazon brand was probably last year. Now we see like multiple going down and going more to like real valuation, right? And not.
Yeah, a lot of the aggregators have kind of, it seems like the funding for them has dried up, right? Which means they can't overinflate some of the values of these brands.
Yeah.
I think it's good though that you managed to at least get something for it, or sell it, because like our brands, the reason I say I stopped in 2016 or not fully was because we just automated it and let the businesses that like there's still like 5 or 6 SKUs that are still kind of ticking over, but where we used to sell like 100 or 200 units a day, it's now like 1 or 2. It's getting to the point that probably with the long-term storage fees, we're probably losing money. But I wish we just found it so difficult to try and sell. But like you said, with the funding, there's so many options now. You've got brokers, aggregators, like flipping websites, that sort of stuff. And back then, it just wasn't so much of it.
Yeah, even marketplaces where you can list your ASIN. You can combine. There are companies that combine different ASINs from different companies and form a new brand. So you have all sorts of different possibilities nowadays.
Oh wow! What are those? Any of those called? I've not actually heard of one that does the kind of combination. I'm gonna have to look it up, I think, after.
Yeah, it's like a marketplace, and you find people that are scouting for different ASINs in similar categories, right? To combine the two.
Oh, cool. And then, so what happened? So you were a seller, you sold your brand, and then you moved into the consulting, or you were kind of doing the consulting
at the same time, yes.
And why, like, what made you then, I suppose, like, what's the why behind EcomPartner? Like, did you realize that people weren't supporting sellers expanding into Europe, or like, if you could tell me about that?
Well, I mean, there's definitely a need for a service like the one we offer, in the sense that all this expertise that I have and my team has, it's really helpful for new brands and also for established brands. As I said, since it's getting more and more complex to be successful on Amazon, and especially the PPC part is getting very, very complex. So I felt like, okay, why not grow the agency, right? And that's when I started focusing more. And I enjoy that as well, because you see all different kind of products in different categories. So that's also interesting for me. And then I like dealing with my partners, and I mean, having these friendships with them, right? So yeah, I just like what I do pretty much.
No, it's cool. I mean, I guess I'd say I'm the same. Like, I enjoy working with people more than I did with products. That like the satisfaction of it's definitely higher. And I guess the reason I was asking is because, like, for me in my position in e-commerce accountants, like, I get tons of people getting in touch, that are third parties that say, oh, we help people expand into the US, we help people expand into the UK. But you're, I think, the first major one I've seen that's like, no, we do the EU and that's all we do. And I thought it was so interesting. And you said, like, your team for translating listings, it's all like native speakers, right?
Yes. And as I said, I mean, being totally transparent, for bigger projects where since our main focus is not translations, so we have partners that do only that, translations for Amazon, right? So we work together with them in the sense that we manage the account, and if there are 150 translations to be made, then take care of that, right?
Yeah. But you handle like PPC management, right? And
yes.
So like I feel like a lot of companies will start in the US because it's a bigger market, and then come to the UK because it's the same language, right? And then probably struggle when it comes to advertising in German or French. But you guys, you don't outsource that, do you? That's
No,
native speakers.
that's our core.
Mm.
That's our core offer, pretty much our core service. So we're proud to do that in-house. Of course, our team takes care of that.
Yeah.
And as you said, it's complex both for the language and also for the added level of complexity given by the fact that markets are different, conditions are different, competition is different in each country. So often a product is selling well in France, but not in Italy, or vice versa. Sometimes a product that is selling in Spain, you have to cut it in Germany. Other products that are seasonal in one country have a slightly or not that slightly difference in terms of seasonality, right? So there are all different things to consider. So we proud of ourselves in delivering great results in terms of PPC campaigns for our partners.
Yeah, I think that's a very powerful sort of value proposition there, to have native speaking people dealing with it, because it's such a complex area. You say that, I mean, I know you work with 7 and 8 figure sellers or brands. What sort of, when a brand like that comes to you, what sort of problems are they sort of facing? Because I think for most people listening, or that I speak to, that, like, it's few and far between that get to those sort of heights. But are those sort of brands like encountering problems, or is it just that they don't want to have to think about the sort of services that you offer?
It's both, Joe. It's both. I would say that brands that are doing well and want to improve, they need somebody that has seen many accounts, somebody that just manages Amazon PPC campaigns and has an extra level of understanding, since maybe their competition is very high, they have low reviews, and they're in a very difficult situation. They're stuck, right? So at that point, for them, it becomes almost impossible to get out of that. So yeah, that's when they ask for help to help them cut their costs, right? Or maybe they're selling just in few countries in Europe, and they need a hand to take care of other countries, right? That's another common problem that they have. So let's say they sell in the UK and they want to expand to mainland Europe, Germany, France, Spain, or Italy. And that's when we will manage those countries for them. And most of the times, to be honest, we end up also managing the UK, right? Since they're satisfied with our work in the EU. So,
and I imagine English is so much easier than French, German, Italian, Spanish.
Exactly.
And so these like 7 and 8 figure sellers, are they like, how different are they? Like, what compared to, I don't know, like a 5 figure or 6 figure, seller? Like, is their ad spend, is it proportional, or is it literally like out of this world?
You mean what is their ad spend?
Yeah. What's the, do you recommend people do a sort of percentage of their sales, and
I see.
It's proportional, or would like an 8 figure seller be like just doing 7 figures of ad spend basically?
Well, look, Joe, it really depends which stage you're in. If you're launching, then you have to consider that to rank, you have to push more with PPC, and potentially your ECOS is not going to be that good the first month when you're just launching. But that's reasonable because you're building that juice, right? That's ranking juice. Of course, an healthy, let's say, PPC sales, so advertising sales over total sales, is anything from 25 to sometimes can be even 60%, as I said at the beginning, if you're just launching, But of course, the goal is to scale that down once you reach a good native position for your products. That means that people are searching for your products, and you are on top of search results for native results. That's the goal, of course, but still, since PPC is so competitive, you will have to continue using PPC, but at that point, your PPC rates of sales will decrease. And it also depends on the category. It also depends on the country. There are many factors, but as I said, yeah, anything, we see anything around 25 to 60%.
Wow, of their of their gross sales is PPC.
As I said, 60% is when you're launching. So that's when you really have to, that's the only way for you to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, as you may know, 80% of the sales are made by the products in the first 5 or 6 positions. So if you're just launching, there's no other way.
We found when we were selling, it was like almost parabolic. Like if you were rank 1, you know, your sales, you might have 100 a day. If you're rank 2, maybe 40 or 50, then rank 3, like 10. And I think this was back in the day when the page was tiled. So you would have, no, actually it was when it was just road. So if you were top, you know, above the cut, you were, you know, you were the first product. And yeah, I mean, we were there before they even brought sponsored products in, and it was just like made such a difference suddenly because you got bumped down. Yeah, which is, we basically ended up giving up because things got harder, and rather than rise to the occasion, we just said, oh, it's getting too difficult now. Let's change. Yeah. What made you start selling on Amazon? Did you like do an online course, or was it kind of chance?
Well, I was always interested in e-commerce, and to be honest, my biggest regret is not to have started earlier. You know, when eBay was booming in mid 2000, you know, and I used to buy a lot of stuff from eBay. So that's, yeah. No,
so when we did, so I said we started 2012, and I think 2014 may have been when Prime started in Germany. And we basically, because everybody, I mean, I wish you guys were around then and we'd known of you, because yeah, we like our way of launching, we hired someone in the UK who was Austrian, Katie, her name is, and she translated all of our listings into English. And like, so back then they didn't have like automatic translations and things. And so we did it to make it a bit more native. And just by making our products Prime, we basically went to page 1, rank 1 for every single product. And like, we had like 60 SKUs in the like kitchenware and health and beauty brands. So like, you know, stuff that just, like you said, is evergreen, that sells every day. And like the German market was just almost booming. We didn't do any the rest of the EU, but it was just easy. It was crazy.
Yeah, those years
were
definitely easier, right? You could like just stick a label in a random product, kitchen product from China, right? And just sell those easily. Those 2012, right?
Yeah, and
those are the easy years.
We did put a lot of effort into it. Like we did make them look good as well. But yeah, it was so much easier. Back to like EcomPartner then. So you describe yourselves as a growth agency. The clue should be in the name, but what is a growth agency?
Well, that's what we focus on, Joe. We focus on taking brands to the next level in terms of sales, help them potentially even exit if that's their goal. As you may know, I mean, it's important to have all your operations in place, in the right place. Sometimes a brand could potentially do much better if just they improve their conversion rate, or if just they did something else with PPC and the valuation will increase. So growth agency means that that's where we excel at. That's where we deliver most of our results. That doesn't mean that we cannot help brands that are just starting out. I mean, they want to grow as well. So, I mean, it's both growth for companies that are launching, brands that are launching, or growth to go to the next level, right? In terms of countries or products or performance for the other brands. And we're category agnostic. So, I mean, we have worked with all kind of, in all kind of different categories. If you're able to sell successfully, right, in one category, then of course you have to make adjustment. But that actually adds up to your capacity to replicate that in other categories. Although, I mean, I'm aware that there are huge differences in CPC. Let's say supplements. I mean, CPC is one of the highest out there compared to hair coolers, whatever, or,
The profit margin is also the highest for supplements usually. I think that's how Amazon end up. I've heard someone say once that essentially the way, the bid-based model works for like marketplaces is they just absorb the margin until it gets to the point that there's like a war, isn't there, between each seller until they hit a point where they're unwilling to give any more of their margin away, and then it just neutralizes it, I think is how they described it.
Very much, yes, very much. So you have to use creative strategies. Well, that's another answer to your previous question. Who comes to you? Who works with you? That's another, right? Where companies that have tried everything, but they still can't figure it out how to do it, how to cut that CPC. That's another thing that we do.
And CPC, for anyone who's not familiar with the term, what does that? And you also mentioned ACOS as well.
Yes, cost per click. ACOS is cost of advertising spend. So how much you're spending, how much you're selling compared to what you're spending.
And those are the two kind of main metrics, aren't they? I think that people use when advertising.
So, yeah. Then of course there's click-through rate is very important. I mean, if your CTR is low, that means that you're appearing on search results, but people are not clicking. That's a problem because the algorithm does consider your CTR. So if, let's say, out of 1,000 impressions, 1,000 times you've been featured, and you just get one click, that's 0.1 CTR. And that means that Amazon algorithm is going to de-rank you because it doesn't see you as relevant. That's another big issue that we see, by the way, in brands we start working with. They totally disregard other metrics like CTR. That's probably one of the first we look at. Yeah.
And so if you've got a client whose CTR is low, what sort of things would you look to change to get that higher?
Sure. Well, first thing is listing optimization. Is the listing optimized? Can we improve the pictures? Can we change the title? Can we make it shorter? Can we make it longer? Is the hero picture hero enough? Or do we have to find a better hero picture? Is the price good? Is the price too low, too high? And where's the problem? The reviews. Do you have an issue there? Do you have 2.5 star reviews? And then, of course, it's keywords on your PPC campaigns. Maybe we have to go broader. Maybe you're just targeting short keywords. You have to use long-term keywords. Maybe you're just targeting broad keywords, right? Broad matches. Then we have to go exact, right? Or maybe you haven't tried sponsored display or sponsored brands. So all sort of things we can do.
So many factors. I think it shows why you need an expert like yourselves to look at these sort of things. And you mentioned that you work with small brands as well, because obviously they also need to grow. Is there a kind of a floor to the sort of level that someone, like a business that would work with you? Like, if anyone's watching or listening to this that thinks, oh, am I too small? Like, at what point is someone too small?
Well, it really depends if you are making sellouts out of Amazon or not, and what is your budget, pretty much, right? Since of course paying us to do the work means that you are taking that money out of your business, right? So you have to make your calculation. Like if you're red, like you're not making profits, you're down, you don't have funding, that's going to be very complicated, right, to invest in an agency or in an expert like experts like us, right? Usually we say we work with brands that make above 1 million revenues per year. But as I said, I mean, if you're already selling somewhere else, maybe you have a store and you're already reaching that quantity, then it's okay. Or if you have the funding, then it's just a matter, as I said, of the budget. And we work with companies that want to invest long-term with us. So it's not typically, we don't do like one-time project just because we want to work like with brands that really want to grow, launch new products, expand, and be successful together.
Yeah, I fully agree. Like I dislike doing one-off work, even if the price is going to be very high, and it's because you want that sort of relationship, like a long-term relationship with a client, that, you know, there's always a lot of work to begin with to make that relationship and for them to figure out how you work, you to figure out they work. That, yeah, like a small project, sometimes it's actually more headache, isn't it, than it's kind of worth. as specialists in the EU, like the EU obviously is a lot of different countries, and within Amazon's network, there's now, is it 7 or it's like how many? Germany,
there's Sweden, there's Poland,
so
Turkey.
All of these countries they speak different languages,
Yes.
and I imagine they've got different habits, different kind of generalizations. Do you see any sort of general trends between each marketplace, like that people should be aware of?
The big 5, you mean? The trends in the big 5?
Yeah, like if I'm, say, selling kitchenware, and I was come to you guys to like launch, so I'm just selling in the UK, I want to launch, like, would you expect kitchenware to do better in France than Germany? A German consumer's more likely to return goods. Like, do you see any sort of
I see
like that? Yeah.
Well, I mean, the biggest differences are in terms of content. So content changes depending on the country. Germans generally are more rational, so the content and the bullet points have to be more features focused, while in Spain we try to use more benefits. So that's already a difference right there. And even like in the infographic, some change. Well, one thing that is helpful is have localized images with the local language text added. That's something that can help for sure. In terms of tendency and trends in each marketplace, for kitchenware, I would say they sell well all over the place, so don't worry with that. But seasonality can be a factor, in the sense that, of course, in Germany it's colder in May or in June, while in Italy and Spain, if you're selling a garden product, you're already selling that from April, right? So in that sense, even though many people in Germany have gardens, right? So yeah, as I said, depending on each category, there are specifics and small tips and suggestions that we can give.
I think that's so interesting that people in Spain are more like almost more emotional, more passionate than Germans. That almost fits with like stereotypes, to think that they then focus on the benefits rather than the features. That's quite cool. What sort of, if there was a US seller, say, looking to move over to here, what sort of discussion or like warnings would you give them before expanding into the EU?
US seller, right?
Yeah.
So, well, you have to have a strategy in place. I mean, you have to know, first of all, where are you sourcing, right? So where are the goods coming from, right? So make sure to have that under control, because that's another level of complexity there. Because if you're having your boat from China being delayed, and then it's going to be a mess, because you will have it delay in the US, but in Europe as well, right? So what's your logistic strategy? First point. If you want to sell in Europe, maybe consider sourcing somewhere else closer to Europe. If not, then okay, you have to consider where to store. That's the second step, right? Where to store your goods. That also depends on how big are your products. The bigger they are, the closer they have to be to the consumer, to the end client. So if you're selling treadmill, then distance selling from Germany to Spain is going to be very expensive. But if you're selling a small ball or a mouse, then of course you can start putting all your boxes, your products in Germany, and distance selling from there to Spain and to other European countries, since you can use the OSS, where you just have to register, as you may know. I mean, you're the expert in this, so I'm not going to go into details on that.
No, that's okay. It's interesting. I just, I wondered if there were, I guess, because I don't try and then, like, we deal with the compliance side of it, right? I don't have people that come in and say, oh, what should I worry about when expanding into these countries? I just wondered if...
Well, the first worry, as I said, is don't run out of stock. Like, if that's a risk, I mean, try to avoid that, right? Like, try to have that under control. That's the first thing. And then VAT, consider that you have to pay VAT. So you have more.
That's a big thing that
that's
I also have to advise on. But yeah.
And look, at the end of the day, it's not that complicated to start in Europe. So of course you have to be aware of the dangers potentially, but I mean, at the end of the day, come on, you can just start with 5 boxes of 2 of your products in Germany or in France. Test those, it's not a big deal, because we don't want to scare sellers out. I mean, it's good to be aware, right, of what could go wrong, but also good to be aware what could go right and how much money you can make.
Oh, amazing. Well, thanks for that. I'm conscious of time, so I think that's a good time to call it. Stefano, if people want to find out more about yourself or Growth Partner, I'll obviously include links and things in the description, but where's the best place for people to go?
Yeah, I mean, shoot me an email at stefano@ecompartner.global. You can reach out on LinkedIn or just visit our website, EcomPartner.global.
Fantastic. And like I said, I'll make sure that's all put in the description. Stefano, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Thank you, Joel. It has been a great pleasure to chat with you.